classic.
If there's an ocean, you want to cross it. If there's a planet, you want to reach it. If there's a mountain, you want to climb it.
In 1965, less than 2 years after his brother John was assassinated, Senator Robert Kennedy acted on those words. He and a party of expert climbers set out to scale a mountain in the Yukon Territory named after the 35th president. Flash forward 10 years.
I know that I am the king, but now I have to let the people know when you pose.
Future Kennedy in-law Arnold Schwarzenegger goes for his 6th straight Mr. Olympia title. And Russian weightlifter Vasily Alexiev, Cold War be damned, is trying to lift a 500-pound barbell. Ahead, a manly show on Classic Wide World of Sports.
The thrill of victory and the agony of defeat. The human drama of athletic competition. This is ABC's Wide World of Sports.
Hi, everybody. I'm Chris Fowler. Welcome to Classic Wide World of Sports. In the words of the Terminator, come with me if you want to live. We're starting off with a Mr. Olympia competition from 1975. And these are men, mind you, not machines. We're about to see Austrian-born bodybuilder Arnold Schwarzenegger go for his 6th straight Mr. Olympia title. Arnold is 27 years old, and he's on the verge of stardom and an eventual Hollywood career. Arnold won his first bodybuilding contest in 1963. After emigrating to the U.S. in '68, Arnold went on to win his first Mr. Olympia title in 1970. 12 years later, he landed his first big movie role as Conan the Barbarian. And maybe Schwarzenegger's quest for fame is best summed up in a scene from Conan. When the gypsies told him he needed to rest, Conan replied, "There will be time enough for rest in the grave." That said, let's throw it to Bob Beatty in Pretoria, South Africa for the 1975 Mr. Olympia competition.
In the year 1893, the great Florence Ziegfeld hired a European strongman named Eugene Sandow to appear at the Chicago World's Fair. Sandow was publicized as the strongest man in the world. He created a sensation, and that was how bodybuilding really began in America. In modern times, the biggest name in competitive bodybuilding is Arnold Schwarzenegger, the current and defending champion of Mr. Olympia. 28 years old, 6'2", 240 pounds, Arnold has held the title for the past 5 consecutive years, in addition to being Mr. Universe 5 times prior to that. Today, in the auditorium of the University of South Africa, he again looks like the favorite to win this year's Mr. Olympia title. Right now, you're watching Arnold in the pre-judging competition, in which the competitors are awarded their scores. There are 2 classes, the tall man and the small man divisions. The winner from each category will compete against each other for the title of Mr. Olympia. Earlier, we talked with Arnold about his total dominance of the sport.
Well, Arnold, in the last few years, you've become a very famous person in the United States. You've been in movies, of course, your pictures are in all of the health magazines. When you walk on down the street, you look a little bit different. You obviously look a little different than I do. You're not what I would call a normal human being. You're strong. Are you aware of this?
Yeah, I'm aware of it, and I feel proud about it because that's the fortunate thing about bodybuilding, that you carry your success with you all the time. It's not like a soccer player, so, you know, you have to go on a soccer field to be the great one, you know. A bodybuilder, you carry your body continuously with you, and I'm proud of it, you know. It's beautiful.
Arnold, you're reputed to be particularly good in your posing techniques. Is there anything unusual you do here?
Well, what I obviously try to do is to show the public that, and also the judges, that a big body can move gracefully. That's what you want to do. You want to show a lot of muscularity, you want to show size, but at the same time you want to show grace. You know, this together makes the champion. So that's what I try to do. I take a lot of ballet lessons. Ballet teachers teach me how to move the hands gracefully and how to look convincing on stage and proud, and that's the king, you know, and that's what you learn. Of course I'm the king, but you know, you also have to get across that you're the king, you know. I mean, I know that I'm the king, but now I have to let the people know when you pose, you know.
The winner of the small man's division is Franco Colombo from Los Angeles. He will next pose against the winner of the tall man's division. Now comes the finalists from the tall man group. There are only 3, and each has been individually prejudged. The winner will be shortly announced. Competing are Arnold Schwarzenegger and Lou Ferrigno of the United States, along with Serge NUBRET of France. Remember, these are professional bodybuilders, so winning the championship is vital in terms of endorsements, personal appearances, and other income-producing activities. Lou Ferrigno is judged to be third. His appearance is too smooth. That is to say, not enough definition in the cut of his muscles, and perhaps a few pounds too heavy. He also lacks some assurance. This is his first professional appearance. Serge NUBRET is next. In addition to being Mr. France, he is a motion picture and television star and one of the preeminent bodybuilders in the world. His chest and arm muscles are cleanly divided, symmetrical. But his celebrated weakness, his back and slender lower body, is not in proportion. And so the judges award him second place. The winner of the tall man division, of course, is Arnold Schwarzenegger. The king has beaten down the opposition once again. Now he will face just one more opponent, Franco Columbu of the small man's division.
Coming up, it's the tall man versus the small man for the title of Mr. Olympia 1975. Can Arnold do it? We'll be back.
You're watching Classic Wide World of Sports.
We're back at the University of South Africa for the finals of this year's Mr. Olympia contest. And with me, Charles Gaines, bodybuilding expert and author of the bestseller, Pumping Iron.
Well, Charles, we're ready now for the runoff for the title of Mr. Olympia. Right. It looks to me like it's going to be pretty tough. It's going to be Franco Columbu and Arnold Schwarzenegger, and they're going right up on the podium now, side by side.
I think it's really going to be great, Bob. These two guys, interestingly enough, pose together all the time in combination. They do a demonstration where they go around the country and pose together, so they know every trick the other one has.
The other bodybuilders were a little bit intimidated by Arnold. You had to be, because first of all, he had the best body. And secondly, he knew it. And he just stood up there and he demanded respect. And that's the way they did. They stood in line and saluted Arnold.
They both tend to favor crunch shots, the shots that show the whole upper body. Now they're starting off with double bicep. And this is the compulsory poses at the head.
Okay, they'll go through this first, right?
Right, and after the compulsory poses, there'll be a period when they can go into freestyle posing, which will be when they really begin to get inventive. The next shot in the compulsory poses is a lat spread. Franco probably has the edge in this shot because of the enormous lats that he's got. You see how well designed these compulsory poses are, Bob? Because
now I want to ask you something. Has Columbu ever beaten Schwarzenegger?
He's never beaten him in a contest.
So there's no real reason to believe he's going to do it today. And that's why they call him the king. Or I guess he named himself the king.
Bob, now they're going into their individual posing routine. You can see Franco again talking to him here. And you see how Franco hurries up to get into the act.
Franco gets more poses in, right?
Right. He baps his poses out. He gets them really out quicker. Arnold takes more time. You see how they're both concentrating on the power shots. Look at Arnold move now. Arnold's really moving, trying to keep up with him. And Franco seems to be taking his time with him. Wait and see. Well, that's a good tackle.
Arnold just took a little look at it.
Right? And he's showing more of his back. Franco, now Franco's getting into his back. You see how the way they watch each other during a pose-off, which is interesting. You've got to be conscious of the other guy and what he's doing so that you can match his shot, and in some cases do it more impressively. I mean, Franco's going down on his knees.
He's going to try to hide those legs that you mentioned earlier.
Try to hide those legs and getting down on his knees, showing he has a great back, and he's showing that back. Arnold is staying with the big, clean, long line classical shots like this one here. Old classical pose. This one here, three-quarter back.
And now the competition is over. The judges are tabulating the scores, and in just a moment, we'll know if Franco Columbu has managed to pull an upset over Arnold Schwarzenegger and win this year's title of Mr. Olympia. If Arnold wins, it may be the last time we'll see this great bodybuilder in competition. As he's indicated, he'll retire after today. Okay, here comes the announcement.
Arnold Schwarzenegger.
And so the king has done it again. Arnold Schwarzenegger successfully defending his title for the 6th consecutive year. The trophy for Mr. Olympia, presented this year by Dr. P.G. Kornhoff, Minister of Sport for the nation of South Africa, and Ben Weider, President of the International Federation of Bodybuilders. And so on behalf of all the 97-pound weaklings in our audience today, this is Bob Beatty saying so long from Pretoria, South Africa.
Let's take a pause from the pose down now and come full circle on the state of Mr. Olympia and champion bodybuilder Arnold Schwarzenegger. Now, as a follow-up to this book, in 1977, Schwarzenegger set the stage for stardom, appearing in the documentary entitled Pumping Iron.
They live in a world of 57-inch chests, 22-inch arms, 28-inch thighs, and hundreds of pounds of rock-hard muscle. To some, they're freaks. To some, they're sex objects. To some, they're heroes. In fact, they are the most physically perfect of all men. And they got that way by pumping iron. Based on the bestseller by Charles Gaines and George Butler. Starring the one and only Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Despite his Austrian accent and his hulking frame, Arnold defied the critics and became an action movie superstar. His movies gross far more than he ever made as Mr. Olympia. Lou Ferrigno went on to be cast as the Incredible Hulk in a television action series. Arnold won Mr. Olympia 7 times, 1970 through 75, and again in 1980. The Mr. Olympia competition appeared 3 times on Wide World of Sports. When Classic Wide World of Sports returns, Senator Robert Kennedy faces the Canadian mountain named after his late brother John. Brother of Eunice Shriver, mother of Maria Shriver, wife of Arnold Schwarzenegger, son-in-law of Sergeant Shriver, leader of JFK's Peace Corps, which has made strides in Eastern Europe, a region once dominated by the Soviet Union of Vasily Alexeyev. Now, what does he think of Schwarzenegger and his Mr. Olympia pals? Well, as Vasily, whose weight averaged 350 pounds, once said in answer to his lack of exercise, "The turtle does not jog, and the turtle lives 300 years. There you have it. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time.
Now, if you're interested in learning Arnold's original bodybuilding training and nutrition principles, please visit my website for a full collection of booklets, including his arms and chest training programs, available at www.goldenerabookworm.com.